Welcome to Hematology. I am your overall hematology instructor, Lori. I just wanted to use this video to go over some changes that you'll notice from in the lab part of heme. Now, if you've taken an MLT class previous to this quarter, you'll have known that you've always submitted a lab report every week for your MLT class. In hematology, it's going to be a bit different. There is still a lab handout in every week of the module, so you will still print your lab handout, bring it to class because that kind of tells you what you're doing that day in lab, some directions. It also has some good critical thinking questions on each of those. Those questions, a lot of times you might find a similar question on a test or that topic on a test, so they're good questions to still know. But you are not going to make a lab report to hand in. Instead, your instructor, your adjunct instructor in that lab room will fill out a lab rubric on your performance and submit that to me, and that will be your grade for the lab. So the way that I wanted to do this is just kind of review with you what the lab rubric requirements are going to be to give you a better idea. I will also be sure to upload a copy of this in your lab course. I'll probably attach it to the announcement where this video will be. There'll probably be a link, or maybe I'll email it, whatever seems to be easiest. But I just wanted to kind of show you and go through what I am looking for, what the adjunct instructor will be looking for as well. So every week, this will be filled out with your name, the week that we're in, lab questions. So these are referring to every single week in the lab course, there is what we call lab review questions. You are to print these, have these completed before you come to lab. And the goal of the lab review questions is to ensure that you have dug into the material for that week to kind of understand what's coming up. It's just to make sure that you're really getting in there. And those lab review questions are really handy. A lot of times, some test questions might come off there as well. And I find that those people that always have them filled out have always really done their best to do them and complete them, do better. Don't just simply answer the questions, simply try to dig in and figure them out. And I noticed that those students that do that do much higher scoring in their testing. So you will get 10 points just for simply doing your part and having those lab review questions with you and answered. And so that will be 10 points right there. If you don't, it's minus 10. You'll notice that the total amount every week will be 80 points. So if you don't have lab review questions done, that's already 70 out of 80. So lab review questions are an easy way just to keep getting those 10 points. Now, the rest is going to be identified by points in the boxes here. So first we're looking at your procedural knowledge and skills. Just how are you doing in the lab with your hands-on skills? And so you may start out more satisfactory as you learn, but the goal is by the end of the quarter, you're hitting that proficient mark quite often. So you can see here to be a satisfactory level, which is a great level to be at, that you're successfully following the directions, that you are understanding like, oh, I need to get this and do this, and you're striving to do those tasks without huge errors. Of course, you're going to still make some errors. That's what learning is all about. But if you're following the directions and you realize, oh, I made an error, that you're going back and figuring out, okay, how can I fix this, or whatever it might be, that you're following the directions and the demonstrations put on by your adjuncts, and that you're just striving to meet that mark. So that's your overall hands-on skill. Accuracy. As we begin getting further into the weeks, you'll be doing differentials, those will be explained later on. You don't have to know what that means now. But we're looking that you know what you're identifying under the microscope. We can't put anybody out into the real world if they don't know the cells properly. And so accuracy is going to reflect, are you properly identifying what you should be? And then the rest of this is, how are you in the lab as far as like your interpersonal skills, your time management? Are you organized? Are you safety? Do you use your gloves, your lab coat? Do you wash your hands? Do you wipe down your counters after you're done with your lab and clean up after yourself? Those should be easy points. Safety, time management, making sure that you're able to complete your tasks on time, that you're staying on task, you're not getting behind or disrupting, that you are always constantly critical thinking through a situation, organized, you're interacting with your fellow team members and instructor well, and that you're just always professional in your appearance and in the way that you show respect. So these are easy points to gain if you're just simply doing what you should be doing as a student. So safety, time management, critical thinking, judgment, organization, interpersonal skills, and professionalism should all be pretty simplistic to gain those points. The procedural knowledge and skills and accuracy, those are going to build as you get better and more comfortable in the lab room. And if you're really taking in what you should be taking in with that lab. Now, if you feel like you are floundering in lab, that's when you seek out help from your MLT program coordinator on your campus, or you can even ask me for help. I know I won't see all of you in person, but I would be glad to do whatever I can on my part. But if it's lab skills, ask your program coordinator if they have time to help you to improve on that. If you feel like if you're not at the level that you should be at. So at any rate, I will make sure you have a copy of this so you can read it better yourself and see where the points are designated. And again, every week your lab instructor will send this to me in an email. I will attach it into the Dropbox and grade you out of those 80 points. So that is going to be where 75% of your weighted grade in the lab area. 25% will be toward the lab practical at the very end of the course. But this is going to be what consists of your lab rubric. So there will be no lab report to hand in, which should be kind of, hopefully makes you easier as a student. It's less homework on your part, but it makes you more accountable to be prepared ahead of time, that you have your lab review questions done ahead of time, that you understand and looked at the lab handout, you brought it with you, you kind of know what you're doing. So it's just asking you to be more prepared on the front end and less work on the back end. There's no report to submit. So you just have to do more ahead of time. That's it. And which is what you should have been doing ultimately the whole time. If you have any questions on this lab rubric, I would be glad to help you. We can email, you can ask for a phone call, whatever it might be. I can help you out with that. I think you'll get the gist of it as we go. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great spring quarter. Please know I'm always here for you no matter what. I would love to help you in any way that I can, even if I don't get to see you in person each week. So, all right, thanks everyone.